aka Padders. We're talking best in class right now, and technically it's also first to market. It's Superman the movie, 1978, and you're listening to AKAPAD's Audio Audacity podcast, and I'm your boy Peter A. DeLuca, and this is my dream world where I just dump everything I know about some of these movies, and I pour my heart and I crack my bones and drip the marrow into your ears when I discuss movies. And we're in the middle, well, maybe tail end of what I like to call Thanksflicking. These are the films I'm grateful for, and I'm telling you, this movie every single time. But let's just get through that intro. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Okay. What do I mean? Like when I say every time. Every single time I watch this movie, a single word comes to mind. And I then that word almost drifts away when we get deeper into the I would say almost like third act of this movie. This is relatively a 4-act movie. It's structured very much like a made-for-TV movie, which is why there were so many different versions of this movie when it comes to what the networks did with it. Meaning, when they would air Superman the movie on network television, they would always add scenes, and there was just all these multiple versions floating around until there was like the super version, like a 3-hour long version, and that's right now called Superman the Special Edition Cut, and that should be on Amazon Prime. You can stream it for like $12. I have yet to sit down and watch that movie in its entirety. Now, most of the time, I back the director's vision. But there's some movies that I like so much. I just want more and more of them. And there's some movies that were kind of like on the edge of being really good, but they fell. They slipped up. And just to give you some of these examples, I'm going to get back to my word, just so you know. Alexander the Great, Oliver Stone. There's 3 versions of that movie that exist. One of them has a shot of working, which is the longest version, because he's building this world. He's showing us so many things, and there are so many different relationships in that movie. More is good. Kingdom of Heaven, the Ridley Scott cut. That's the one to watch. Aliens, original. I don't like Alien Special Edition. I do not. Blade Runner, I hate to say it, original. I hate every single version of that movie that comes out. I feel like we're not done with Blade Runner. We're just not done with it. There's always a new Blade Runner cut coming. And even now, we have Godfather 3, Francis Ford Coppola's cut, and we have Sylvester Stallone working on Rocky 4, making a Rocky 4 cut. So this idea of playing with something that's great. People kind of always focus on Star Wars and Star Wars special editions. I don't mind the Star Wars special editions. And here's the reason. Because I never took Star Wars seriously ever in my life. I never felt like it needed to be messed with. But at the same time, once I got it, I'm like, cool. Like, give me more X-Wings, redo this song, more Boba Fett. Jabba the Hutt's the first one. Like, let's go, kids. I seriously, and I know it's unpopular, I do not mind the special editions. So this movie, Superman 1978, has so many different versions. And here's the cool thing. Okay? From what I've seen from some of these other versions, they all add to the mythic quality of this movie. Now, there's only one other movie in my mind that compares to Superman 1978 when it comes to mythicness, and that's The Natural, Robert Redford. The beginning of that movie is nothing less than mythic. The beginning of this movie, which is in a lot of regards most movies, because it takes us some time to get to Metropolis. But when we're on this like quest, but it's almost like we're on this like understanding of who this guy is. Yeah, like what the blood that beats through his heart. I really feel like that was the intent here. The intent for Superman was to show us how he could be infallible, how he could be rigid, how he could know the difference between right and wrong. Now, I will say this. Moving forward, when it comes to the Man of Steel's storytelling, that those ideals that I just described will forever be chased and corrupted by future storytellers. Even Zack Snyder, even though I absolutely love Man of Steel, I feel like if you were to update Superman 1978 and you needed to put it in front of the face of a modern audience, hope no more than what you got with Man of Steel. Because what you don't like about MOS, you are nitpicking, and we're not discussing vision, intent, effectiveness. You're crying, you're howling at the moon. Next conversation, moving on. Few movies strike me as this. I mean, the death of his father. I'm just dealing with the death of my father. Like, holy crap. There's a scene where, like, after his father dies, it's him and the mother, and he's telling his mother he has to go on a journey. He has to leave her essentially in her time of need, and they're standing in this field, and there's nothing on the horizon, only the horizon. And that scene, with a John Williams score, is far more meaningful and impactful of Luke Skywalker on a hill in some alien world looking at two round suns in the sky. It really is. The scene where Clark Kent discovers that he needs to, in effectiveness, like discover himself. He needs a pilgrimage. He needs to go to Mecca. It's powerful. It's there. Everything regarding Krypton in this movie is just epic. It's epic and alien, a little bit familiar, but and I say familiar just because we have actors. But if it wasn't for the actors, Krypton would be completely alien. Just the way, the idea that they laid out of how that world works. It's almost like the peak of some of the schlock sci-fi from the era that took itself very seriously. Something like Rollerball or Logan's Run. The Kryptonian scene in that, or the Krypton scene in that, shouldn't make any sense and shouldn't work, but it's taken absolutely seriously. The intent for that is seriousness, and like we're like, it's almost like we're being, if you don't know about the mythology of the Man of Steel, when we watch Superman 1978, we're being introduced to these wild alien worlds, like right out of the gate. And the only way for us to have for it to impact us later, okay, is if it's serious. I don't know. I love it. The music, the opening of this movie, the way how it sets up the sequel. Superman 1 and 2 are essentially one long movie. Now, there's also a Richard Donner cut, speaking of cuts, of Superman 2 that is in my queue. It's been in my queue for like a year. I haven't watched it yet. I've been very laxed and non-disciplined in that. Only because I'm always afraid to watch an updated version of something I really enjoy. Superman 2 is as good as the first one. It's maybe not as mythic, but then again, it doesn't have the origin of Clark Kent. Excuse me. So this movie, I rank this as the greatest superhero movie of all time. It's also somewhat the first superhero movie of all time. That's what I mean in the intro when I said best in class and first to market. this movie has yet to be beat. It has yet to be topped because there's no other character like Superman. Superman is the greatest character when it comes to comic books. You know, his slow evolution, and now we're dealing with like a destructive deconstruction of the character where no one really knows what to do with him anymore. They don't know how to act. They don't know what types of storylines to put him in. They forget what he stands for. And because of that, this movie becomes more meaningful. It becomes more important. Now, I made comments before about Zack Snyder and what I feel like his collective, his overall, his big arc vision was for his Man of Steel, which I completely back. You know, he wanted to portray the Man of Steel in a way of too perfect. You know, like no one would trust him, so he needed a trigger, like an element to make us want him. You know, to make us want help. And I think he effectively does that even in the newer Justice League. You know, even though we're getting, here we go, another version of that movie's coming. It's madness. The struggle between vision and product is so prevalent when it comes to big time movies, because no one cares about alternate cuts of movies that are low budget. Bigger the budget, we need multiple cuts. There you go. The more money you spend, the more popular your movie becomes. We want alternate cuts. We want alternate takes. But no, but whenever I watch this movie, I really am like transported. My mind wanders. You know, like I mull it over. I love the flight scene with Superman and Lois, like, because it kind of even indicates that the Man of Steel could be a little bit psychic. He could be a little bit more aware on that level, even though it's not there. It's not understand. It's understated, and they never quite go back there. But it's pretty much there in that scene. You know, like when I'm talking earlier about the third act. Look, when Lex Luthor puts his plan, you know, when he reprograms the bombs and does all that, this is the worst part of this movie. That's the only time that this movie feels like it slows down. But dare we even say that Gene Hackman is still the best Lex Luthor like ever? It's amazing that no one has stepped in those shoes. Now, you know, I like Jesse Eisenberg and him, but it's not quite this Lex Luthor. Like, you know, like this maniacal, you know, this idea that he's living underground and he's living in like a Shangri-La, like underneath New York City. No one knows he's there, but they're looking for him. Like, it's really cool stuff, you know, and that's the stuff you would expect from a comic book supervillain. This movie knows what it is. It has perfect intent, and it's still the best. And sometimes I want to sit down and watch the best. And I put on Superman 1978. Everyone, I cannot be more thankful for this movie. Until next time, our final, we're going to wrap it up with Fifth Element. I love you and goodbye.